What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ and Buck with you. Buck, what's going on, man?
Man, not too much, DJ. Just hanging in there. Didn't get a chance to ask you about the experience. I saw the score, but I got to hear about the championship game.
Yeah, we got our face kicked in. We played Bishop O'Dowd, head coach Hardy Nickerson, and this will be a great. Then I'm curious to get your reaction on this because this was mine. Team felt pretty confident from the tape, like watching the tape, like, oh yeah, we got a shot. We got a good shot against this team. But when you're a Southern California team playing a Northern California team, you don't know the opponents that they're playing. So you don't know what that looks like. And
yeah,
I think they might have got some kids. I don't know if they're transfers or what, but for the back half of the year that maybe they didn't have in the early portion of the season, which can kind of change the makeup. But anyways, I go out there for warm-ups and I'm watching them warm up and they're barking, Buck. There's a little edge to them, you know. It's Oakland. Man. Little edge to these guys.
Yeah, it's Oakland.
And I see a couple wideouts. I'm like, they got some speed. They got a little edge. I thought, okay, they're going to have their hands full here. And then they go out for the coin toss. Now I get a little sideline pass. I'm on the far side. I just stay out of everybody's way out the far side of the field. Coin toss at the 50. I don't hear them, whatever team called it. I think we were the home team, so they would have called it. I don't hear anything. I don't hear the ref say anything. I don't hear him call it. But I heard loud as day, we'll take the ball after they won the toss. And I went, oh, no, that's not good. They wanted to jump right into that. They did not want to mess around. They said, we will take the ball. We ended up getting a stop on that one. And then we marched the ball down and got stopped on a fourth down. So it's kind of a little back and forth. And then once they scored, they did not stop. It was 37-0.
So here's what's interesting. And it wasn't until we had the conversation that I knew that you were playing Hardy's team. Where Hardy and I go back to coaching on the Nike tour. Mm-hmm. And my first experience, like as a coach, like in the camp circuit, is against him. And he is the defensive coordinator of this all-star team that they created for him. I think it was Gridiron Kings down in Orlando. Mm-hmm. And DJ, like, he is the nicest person away from the thing. But to know Hardy, you have to understand, this is Hardy Nickerson. They played for the Steelers and the Buccaneers, who's very edgy. And when you told me they're playing, I said, man, I've seen his 7-on-7 teams take on his personality. I can only imagine how physical and feisty his teams are. So I expected it to be a physical affair, but I did not know what it was going to look like compared to, like, hey, I've seen their scores. I've seen who they play there, but you can't understand it.
They were bigger. They were bigger and they had more speed. And the quarterback played good, which I don't think they were expecting that. But I think they got a little running back and he was good, like Sac State and some of those type of offers. But he had them well coached. And it was just, you know, with kids, you can kind of see who the alphas are, like who the aggressors are. And it was
those
early,
games.
Buck. It was early.
In those games, particularly when it's not known opponents. Like, I think the state championship games in California are hard. So I remember when we went up to San Marin, you can look at tape, but you don't have
no context.
You don't know. And so then we get up there and I was like, oh, they way different. And yo, this is not what we signed up for. It's a different experience. And anyone who knows California will move on to this. It was not a great weekend for Southern California.
Oh, I got mopped up a little bit. Except for Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer took care of business. I haven't talked to Maurice yet. Have you talked to MJD?
I have not, but I listened to TJ Ward talk on a podcast about the disappointment in De La Salle. But what I would say with De La Salle, man, it's apples and oranges.
Those are grown men now at Santa Margarita.
Yeah, like down in Santa Margarita, that Trinity League, what they're doing with, I mean, all of them, Mater Dei, Servite, Orange Lutheran, Bosco. It's just a different hustle. And look, it comes down to dudes. We can talk about X's and O's. It's Jimmys and Joes. And those teams have the best Jimmys and Joes that you can find.
Do you think we're headed towards, and then we'll get to the NFL stuff here in just a minute, I promise, but I'm curious on this front. Like the Trinity League, for those that don't know, that Bucky's just talking about, is all the premier teams in LA, Orange County. It's powerhouses. They're bringing kids in from the Bay Area, from Arizona, from
all private schools.
Chris Henry came from Cincinnati, Chris Henry Jr. So all the top talent is coalescing in these schools. And this year was an upset because Santa Margarita kind of crashed the party where you'd had Mater Dei and St. John Bosco kind of in the two powers, and they end up with Carson Palmer as their head coach. They win the whole thing. And I know that I'm sure that They're not number one ranked in the country, but I don't think anybody's beaten them. I don't care where they come from. What other teams? All comers. I think they could handle it. But I'm just wondering, with the NIL stuff, we've gone from professional football to NIL, making college football professional football, to the point where now colleges are announcing that they've re-signed their players. USC's been putting these things out. We've re-signed these guys. I'm wondering if that, since all that talent's there, is that going to end up dropping even down to that, where you've got kids in high school who are getting more money to go from one school to the next? Like, I feel like that's the next thing that's going to happen.
Look, I'll say this, and it's not supposed to happen, but it's happening, man. You hear the stories on the word on the street. This person got this, and this person has this, or this roster is valued at this much money in terms of what they spent. And it's unfair because you have what I call high school, and you have elite club high school football, which is all-star teams or whatever. And I think we have to kind of separate them because the playing fields aren't level. Like what you witnessed during your championship game, that's neighborhood kids. Like that's, hey, let's grab the balls. Like what they're doing, Santa Margarita and those guys, those are not your neighborhood kids. And so it's unfair to kind of judge that kind of high school. Now, it's great to watch, but when I watch those teams, it's like looking at small college ball because they're doing things that you would do in college because you have the personnel that is going to play in college, which is different than the high school that's around the corner. Yeah,
I know. So there's people probably listening to us going, get on to the other stuff. We don't care about high school football, but it's where the sport's going. That's the grassroots. We talk about it all the time. Let's jump into some of these NFL games, but because on this episode, there's just so many good matchups with playoff implications that I wanted to give that some due this week. Let's start first of all, Seattle and the LA Rams. They are going to get together for the second time. We've been talking about it from the beginning of the year about how much we were looking forward to that. The Rams, I thought they really kind of got outplayed by Seattle in that first meeting, but they were able to turn Sam Darnold over several times. They end up winning a close ball game. This time, this one's up in Seattle as they welcome the Rams on a short week on a Thursday night.
Yeah, DJ, this is about even a matchup as you can find. When I look at both of these teams, they are very complete. You don't see a glaring weakness. Both teams you can envision being in the Super Bowl, just given how they're constructed, how they've played, how they've continued to get better throughout the season. In this game, Seattle is the more motivated team, obviously, to even up the series. But when I look at them coming in, JSN is a nightmare. What they've created, the trade, Rashid Shaheed,
he makes a difference.
Yeah, that's paid off handsomely from them. Their ability to run the ball and all those things. The only thing that is making me pause, Sam Darnold's last two games against the Rams have not gone well. Can he crack the code in terms of just taking care of the ball against that team, or does that team have something on him that he can't get past?
Yeah, I mean, I thought last week was a good sign with Sam, the way he finished that game. That was a great finish. And making those throws. And, you brought up Rashid Shaheed and the role that he can play for this team. I actually happened to watch the tape of the Rams-Lions game. And then after that, I watched the Seattle-Indy game. And I was struck, Buck. And I know they didn't win the game, but Detroit scored a lot of points and they moved the ball up and down the field on them. And I'm sitting there watching it going, okay, well, who did we compare JSN to when he was coming out? Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, Jameson Williams and all that big speed. Okay, Rashid Shaheed, same exact guy. Like, they can duplicate a lot of the pieces of that offense. And I think there's going to be opportunities for them against the Rams secondary where they're going to be able to hit some plays. Now, Cross was getting nicked up a little bit at the end of that game. We'll see, what his status is for that game. As we're recording this, we don't know. That would be a big loss for them. But I do think there's going to be some opportunities there for Seattle's offense against the secondary, and Sam just needs to protect the ball better. But to me, I think that's something I would be looking forward to. And then you flip it over to the other side. I was looking at all the explosives for the Rams offense. Mm-hmm. One of the things that stood out to me is just simple down and distance. If you're on defense and the Rams are 2nd and 4 and they got 2-3 tight ends out there, hey, you better back up because they are going to take their shots.
It's funny because you brought it up very early in the season, what they've been able to do out of 13 personnel, heavy sets and those things. And going all the way back to my time around John Gruden and other coaches, they always wanted to use, he used to call it U personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, 1 wide receiver, because what you guaranteed is you get off coverage on the outside. And if you have a really good receiver, it's hard in this league to play a really good receiver from off. And what the Rams have been able to do is they put you in these snug alignments where it's almost like an unbalanced run formation to create all these opportunities down the field, either for the receiver or tight ends on layered crossing routes. It's something that you better be ready to defend. And I looked up. I think Matthew Stafford has like 27 red zone touchdowns. Yeah. A bunch of those are off of those tight bunch, heavy set looks. That's first and foremost. That has to be the top priority if you're the Seahawks, to have a plan to deal with the jumbo personnel.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I would, if you're going to get the quarter half look that the Rams were given Detroit in the red zone, they hit them on skinny post twice. They work on the quarter side.
Bang them.
Warm out.
Yeah, bang them. It's called a Dino route. One guy take the safety, cross face, and come the corners out leverage. Yeah, it's a problem. This is going to be a great matchup. Now, you have the good fortune of not being in the studio. I am working the game.
Oh, you're in Thursday.
You got me. So I'm in. So it's going to be fun to talk about, fun to watch. But look, man, we're talking about number one seed in the NFC.
Difference between the first and the fifth. I mean, Sam Darnold's played in this game last year. You know, it did not go their way. He didn't play. He was probably his worst game. I know people point to the playoff game against the Rams, but that was more an O-line issue. He did not play well at Detroit. And it was a 1-5 game. The winner's the 1, the loser's the 5. Like, that's a massive game. And here he is right back the next year, right back in another 1-5 game.
Well, the experiences from last year should serve him well this year if he doesn't make the game bigger than it needs to be. Just play the game. Don't even worry about the opponent. It's really up to Kubiak to make sure he sets him up for success.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's get to some of these other games. I want to get to your game, which is going to be a big one, man. Jacksonville and Denver. Huge game. I know from the Chargers side of things, as someone who calls their games, they'll be keeping an eye on that score because that could put the AFC West potentially back in play.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting game, and it's a big one for the Jags. They won't say it outwardly, but you know it's a big one. It's a measuring stick thing because you talk about them flying up under the radar for most of the season. Well, if you knock off the Denver Broncos, who are in the middle of a 11-game win streak, now eyes begin to go to you as a team that has a legitimate chance. Here's the challenge. The challenge is the Denver Broncos defense is outstanding. They're terrific, man. Match coverage, what they're able to do. And, you know, Vance Joseph is funny because he used to be a blitz guy. Now they're more simulated pressures, more four-man rushes, sticky match coverage where they're matching up and doing everything. They can make it very, very difficult for you to get open. This will be the test for the Jaguars wideouts. Can they consistently win their one-on-ones against a really good defensive backfield that is unafraid to lock up and play variations of man-to-man on the outside?
Yeah, that's going to be the challenge. I think physicality-wise, I think Jacksonville's going to match up. I think they'll be able to match up on both sides from that standpoint.
Well, that's what they want to do. That's who they are. You know, they want to talk about being a physical team. And the thing that you're going to see is they're going to run the football. They can try and set up the run. And it's another game for Trevor to see if he's ready to take that next step. Now, we've been around, 5 years? We've been talking about Trevor, even before then when we saw him at the opening. Look, he has always shown flashes of being the guy, but this is an opportunity on a big stage to show people that he's ready to kind of walk into that club as one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Ignore the numbers. Trust your eyes. The last 3 weeks, he's been terrific. Now, it's going to be a little different against this pass rush because they can hit you up with 3 different guys coming, and that's going to test the offensive line. But if Trevor is protected, then it comes a pitch and catch game. And how do they do it? I will say this. If you're looking at this game, watch the running backs. The last couple of weeks for the Jaguars, Travis Etienne, Tootin is not playing, but they've been using the running backs to take advantage of matchups on backers. That could be their outlet against the tight coverage on the outside. Oh, we're going to feed the pig and see if we can win these matchups on backers to create opportunities in space and first downs.
I like that. And on the defensive side of the ball, I would say for Jacksonville to somehow pull this thing off, I would say the H's this week. You gotta hold, get Bo Nix to hold the ball, but then you've got to him in the pocket. So what you don't want is his ability to get the ball out right now from in the pocket, or his ability to get outside the pocket, buy time, scramble, and get big plays. You want him to hold the ball, but you got to him in, man. It's got to be a little more of a controlled rush this week.
Look, man, let's talk about how good he's been.
He's been really good.
Been so good. He's been so good. I think he has 7 game-winning drives or whatever that is, 6 or 7 game-winning drives. He's been terrific pushing the ball. People talk about, he can't carry it. Last week, they dared him. They took away the running game, 300-yard day, 3 touchdowns. Man, he had Michael Parsons running all over the place trying to chase him. And you're right. If he gets outside the pocket, man, that's when it's scary for opponents. He's become a really, really good player that people don't talk about enough in terms of his growth and maturation in his second year as a quarterback.
All right, Buck, it's the rematch. You know this matchup quite well, Green Bay and Chicago. I don't know if you saw the post-game stuff in the Chicago locker room, but I think it was DJ Moore.
Yeah.
No, it was DeMarco Jackson. It was my App State linebacker who they gave a game ball to, who's been playing great for him. And I think he made the comment like he still had a bad taste in his mouth from the Green Bay game. And so they get a chance to try and get that division on in a really good spot if they could somehow knock off the Packers at home.
And they got a wounded Packers team coming into the building. Not only the injury to Michael Parsons, but Christian Watson having the chest injury. So we don't know what that looks like. And the Packers have lost so many pieces along the way. Think about the loss of Tucker Kraft and just having to deal with so many different things. You wonder how much is too much for them to be able to sustain and continue to be the team they are. Coming off a frustrating loss to the Broncos, I think it's tough for the Packers. And if we're honest, man, I know they knocked off the Bears 2 weeks ago. I feel like the Bears are just playing better ball. Like they are. Now people will say, well, they won though. I said, yeah, but you just look at how the Bears are playing. This is going to be personal. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be tough for the Packers to win in the Windy City.
Yeah, a little bit of a short week too. It's a Saturday game. And Chicago, to me, their offensive line, I mentioned it the other day, they've been able to dent defensive lines, man. They are getting movement and it's been physical. I think this is an offensive line day for the Bears. Let's get to a couple more. Pittsburgh had a big win the other night against a ugly Miami team, especially offensively, but they have stepped up and challenged here. They've got to go to Detroit. Detroit fighting for their playoff lives here.
Yeah, and there's something about Detroit. When I watched them play against the Rams, I feel like, man, if they can just find their way into the tournament, they're going to be a problem for opponents just because of the explosiveness and their know-how in terms of navigating the postseason. I think they found their rhythm offensively. Dan Campbell has unlocked some pieces. When you see Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameson Williams get loose while they're still having the running game, that's a lot to handle. And Jared Goff is playing really well. It's a tough offense, man. It's a really difficult offense to deal with. And Dan Campbell is beginning to find his way as a play caller.
I think this ends up being a shootout. And I think you end up seeing, Rodgers has played pretty well. I think he has a big game. I think they're going to be able to make some plays down the field with DK and company. But I also worry about the Pittsburgh corners holding up against this Detroit pass receiving duo out there. So I think it's a high scoring game. I don't have a great feel. I would say Detroit probably stick with them to win this game. But I think it ends up being a really, really high-scoring affair. I think you'll see good Aaron Rodgers. He'll be playing indoors. He likes playing in there. I think you'll see a good version of him in that passing attack, Buck.
Look, man, every time you count the Pittsburgh Steelers out, they somehow found their way back into the conversation. The performance they had on Monday night was probably one of the best offensive performances we've seen from them in terms of the rhythm in the passing game, DK Metcalf and others getting involved. I just don't know if they can score enough against the Lions. I always think about Pittsburgh like, man, 20 is like the cap on what they normally can do. And on Monday, they got past that, but it was so hard for them to do. I'm going to take the Lions. I don't really know. I'm going to take the Lions just because of the offense. I think their offense is just going to put the number up that I don't know if the Steelers can match.
Yeah, I'm probably leaning in that direction there. Let's get to just a few more here. Tampa Bay and Carolina in the battle for a underwhelming division in the NFL here, both sitting at 7-7. It's wide open for both these teams.
DJ, I feel like my brother matches your Padres fandom.
Oh, he's a Panther guy now.
With his love of the Panthers. And it's the roller coaster ride. Like the emojis are good and bad and good and bad. And so just when they have the division right there for them to take, they lay an egg and they don't play well against the Saints. That said, whenever they've had to play up, they play better against. They play up to the level of competition. I think they'll play up this week. Bryce Young has been effective. I'm thinking he's going to try and find T-Mac early and often. They got to get back to running the football because when they run the football, it allows them to control the game. And then defensively, they have to limit the big plays that the Bucs have done. after Todd Bowles' impassioned post-game.
They let one get away.
They have to perform better. I'm leaning towards the Panthers. Maybe that's the home love, but I'm leaning towards the Panthers.
All right, New England, Baltimore. New England, man, tough loss. They blew that big lead against Buffalo. Now you got to go take on a Baltimore Ravens team who's in that fight with Pittsburgh for the AFC North title here, and that's kind of their pathway. So a huge game for Baltimore. And New England's got all of a sudden, from being in control of this whole thing, being in a little bit of trouble inside this division, they dropped this game.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is going to be kind of a measure of the Patriots' resilience. You dropped that game to Buffalo. It's a disappointing loss. So now you feel like you gave one away that you should have gotten. You take on a Baltimore team that is fighting for their lives. The thing about the Baltimore Ravens, I just never know which version is going to show up. And because of that, I'm all in on the Patriots. I think they're the more mature team. They're the more consistent team, obviously, as the record indicates. And I still have questions about the Baltimore Ravens defense. So to me, I think Josh McDaniels and Drake May find success in the passing game, and that allows TreVeyon Henderson to deliver a big play or two on the run.
I do think New England is the better team, but I think Baltimore, coming off of last week, maybe a little bit of a get-right game, but defensively had a really good showing. They shut out Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals, one of the worst games Burrow's played by his own admission. So I think they, every time you try and count this type of a team out that's got so much history, these guys have been there, done that. It's still all a little new for New England. I actually think this ends up being a really, really close game and maybe a little more low scoring than you might think. So looking forward to that one. Huge, huge game with the Ravens and the Patriots. Last one, Phillip Rivers 2.0 here against the San Francisco 49ers, Buck.
Look, man, he had the team positioned to do it. And everything that we talked about that was not related to the passing game was how the Colts were able to stay in the game. The first half, DJ, they squatted on the ball. I mean, they were a half-court basketball team just making the Seahawks play at their tempo. Phillip Rivers' ability to get the team in the right play. It was a bunch of what you said it was going to be, a bunch of swings and screens and F angles and checkdowns and those things. It'd be a little more difficult now that the Niners have seen maybe his limitations on tape. I think this is going to be tough sledding for the Indianapolis Colts.
When I was growing up, Buck, we had hardscape in the backyard. So we didn't have a backyard, so to speak. It was just all hard. And then we had a little baby lawn in the front. So we played football there as kids, but it was tight. It was tight. And that's what the Indianapolis Colts, they're playing. It was 366 Coachwood in El Cajon. They're playing in my front yard there. It's just a little postage stamp. We're not going to be able to get the ball down the field. You want to take your chances and go out in the cul-de-sac in the street, you go ahead, but you go down, that's going to leave a mark there, if you want to do that.
It's not only that.
Half court basketball, man.
It's not only that. It's playing on that little parcel of land with a Nerf ball.
Oh, yeah.
so you know how Nerf balls don't fly far? That's what we're doing. So we're trying to push it down the field, but that thing is not going farther than 10 to 15 yards.
Like a wiffle ball.
That's what we're doing. And we can dress it up as many ways as we can. But, man, you're playing in a 15-yard box. How long can they sustain it?
Here's my question, though. The ultimate move would be you put that out there against Seattle and that defense, the challenge is there. And now all you've done is you're just going to pull them up. And then Phillip can just lob some hand grenades over the top. Just a couple quick go balls. The way I used to throw a go ball, Buck. When the other quarterbacks were in the gun taking a full 5, I was a quick 3. I'm going to get that thing up early and as high as I can.
Well, this, and we saw Peyton do this. It is different playing indoors. Up and out quick, this and that. People are going to look at that game and they're going to talk about Seattle. But what we don't know on TV, we don't know the wind conditions. We don't know what the weather was fully like in terms of the challenges. You're right. He might be able to push it more down the field at home just because of those cozy confines. So now we'll just stretch your little parcel land out a little bit. Yeah. And we'll put the tail behind the Nerf ball. So we give it a little juice. We put like a little tail so it can fly a little farther. Yeah. That's it. It's not going to fly far.
That's a great sound. All right. This is a great slate of games, man. I cannot wait. Looking forward to it. If we don't have a chance, this will be the last time I'll be on, I believe, before we get to Christmas and the holidays are here. So I just want to wish Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. Buck, in my presence, I get to do this show with you. Enjoy it and wish you and yours all the best, my friend.
Look, man, it's so much fun. I love the holidays. I love doing this stuff with you. And I love our people that watch and tune in. So more fun to come in 2026.
All right. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.